Boys and girls, children of all ages, freaks and geeks, trolls and derps alike, welcome all. I am Mullet Mike, bringing you creepy gaming. Well, it's October, which means it's my favorite time of year. It's time for scary movies, it's time for a lot of Halloween candy, and of course, more creepy gaming. 'Tis the season in which we infatuate ourselves with demons and ghouls and goblins and ghosts, zombies, and even witches, which in my opinion is sadly underused in video games. Which brings me to today. We will be talking about none other than the game Daylight. Shout out to all these fine folks right here. Thank you all so much for all your support. If you have a suggestion for creepy gaming, then let me know in the comments below. So, without further ado, turn the lights down and the volume up as we journey into some creepy gaming. Daylight was released in the spring of 2014 for the PlayStation 4 and PC. The game was developed by Zombie Studios and consists of a number of innovative features. This title is said to be one of the first games ever to be powered by Unreal Engine 4. The levels are randomly generated, and the game even features the option to host an interactive live stream. For your entertainment, I subjected myself to just that. For the most part, I'd say it went pretty well. No! Damn you! Damn you all, you ugly... I'll talk more about the interactive aspects of the live stream later on, but first, let me start by telling you a little bit about the backstory. You play as Sarah, a woman who wakes up in an old abandoned hospital without remembering how she got there. You must venture out through the hospital, connecting prison and surrounding areas. Equipped only with the smartphone glow sticks and flares, this game takes it back to classic survival horror. You must collect notes and significant items a la Outlast or Slender while dodging shadow people, witches, and demonic creatures. What makes this game stand out, though, is the claustrophobic maze-like levels are randomly generated, making every time you play its own unique experience. To me, it just makes the game that much more intimidating. If you replay a horror game, you typically grow familiar with the level layout, jump scares, and even the survival essentials. But with Daylight, you never know what's around the corner. I've noticed more and more horror games going in this direction here as of late. Procedurally generated games tend to add an element of surprise and give the title more replay value. But there are some downsides as well. You tend to see some of the same objects over and over. Even specific areas tend to repeat themselves, adding an unnecessary level of confusion. It's a little more understandable in a game like this though, where the disorientation just adds to the overall horror experience. I guess it just depends on how you look at it. Throughout the game, you learn more and more about the hospital's disturbing past by finding these particular remnants. These remnants can be notes found literally anywhere. Clues to their locations can be easily found when using a glow stick. Once you collect all the remnants in the level, you must then find a sigil, which basically is a significant item from the hospital's dark past. This game is so scary that even the sigils are just a bunch of creepy items like a book or a pair of rusty clippers or even a teddy bear. Wait a minute, I can handle this. I'm a former member of the Midnight Society. Dealt with a lot of creepy items in my days. I can handle it. You know, unless it's like a creepy doll or something.
There is no escape.
Oh, I fucking hate dolls. Oh, look at the head bobbling back and forth. I should have known it was gonna be a fucking doll. No. Oh my god, that is the most terrifying thing I've seen yet. Oh, look at the. Oh god. Where the fuck is this exit at? Each level has what is known as the Seal of Shadows, which is basically a room filled with these creepy glowing glyphs. Bringing the sigil to the Seal of Shadows will progress you to the next level and eventually to the end of this hellish nightmare. Oh, there it is, there it is, there it is. There's the end of the level, there's the end of the level. Get to the end of the level. No, 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 no. Take the doll. Take the damn doll. Alright, I'm about to go into a little bit of a spoiler territory, so if you don't want to hear any spoilers, then just skip ahead. I won't talk about it too much, just a fair warning. By collecting more remnants and sigils, Sarah soon learns that there were once 13 witches. 12 of them were burned on the hospital grounds. The 13th witch was released because she turned the others in. By the end of her frightening journey, Sarah realizes that the 13th witch was actually one of her ancestors, which is why the remaining 12 are haunting her. This game can be perceived as a generic survival horror game with a typical setting, and in many ways it is. But the enemies in this game is what sets it apart for me. Again, I feel like witches are sadly underused. Survival horror games typically feature serial killers, ghosts, or dare I even say it, but zombies. It's nice to see witch folklore featured so predominantly in this game. The settings can be considered cliche, but one aspect that I did really appreciate was the variety of setting locales. For example, Outlast took place in a mental hospital. The first Slender was set in the woods. Daylight takes place in a mental hospital, a prison, the woods, a cave, an old office building filled with colonial architecture, and more. The variety was very well placed. The developers made the game feel much bigger than it really is. This can be credited to being structured properly. It almost feels like you're playing a game that takes the best of all the latest survival horror titles and just wraps them all up in one badass game. Daylight uses some pretty good scare tactics. The game delivers the typical screamer when a witch or shadow person is nearby. Now, I'm not a big fan of screamers personally. I feel like they are overused and not executed properly for the most part. But I've got to admit, the screams in this game get me every time. Come on, looking for those notes, please. No, pig kill! There are typically two types of scares you can get from screamers. Allow me to elaborate. There is the obvious unassuming loud scare out of nowhere where you experience the initial scream, but the effect is short-lived. It just becomes repetitive and no longer frightening. The second type is when you witness the initial jump scare and the fear of anticipation begins to set in. If it was truly a horrifying scare, then you typically wouldn't want to experience it again. In Daylight, once you hear the sound of static and see your phone glitching with these strange markings, that means one of the witches is nearby. You're definitely not going to want to feel that terror again. Daylight received mixed reviews upon its release, and I can see why. I typically try to stay positive for the most part, but there are certain aspects of this game that just can't be ignored. My main complaint is the game's controls. For a game where running is a must, you'd think the controls would be a little tighter. Not just that, but this game features very small corridors. And I get it, it's supposed to. The tight quarters definitely adds to the creepiness, but these already small hallways are filled with a ton of unnecessary shit. I understand the levels need filler, but it's too easy to get hung up on some desk or chair. It can get frustrating when you're trying to run for your life and constantly get caught up on some object. Don't get me wrong, I like a challenging game, but that's not a challenge. That is a flaw. Other than that and the repetitive objects, I guess I really don't have any more nitpicks. They're just frustrating ones. One thing in the game's favor that really won me over was the interactive live stream. When I streamed the game on Twitch, my viewers were able to actually interact with my gameplay. In the chat section, there were a couple of different options the viewers could choose from, such as footsteps, whispers, and even screams. I had a lot of fun with this, and it seemed like a lot of you did too. It was an awesome addition that I hope more horror games will eventually support. Live streams are already interactive in the fact that I can chat with my viewers while playing, but when you can actually interfere with my gameplay, that officially takes gaming to a new level. Oh yeah, pun intended. Overall, Daylight is a very well done, fun, innovative, creepy gaming experience. The settings were great, the atmosphere was chilling, the enemies really freaked me out and legitimately made me jump on a number of occasions. No, I don't feel it. Oh! Ooh, what the fuck, what the fuck, what the fuck, what the fuck, what the fuck? Can't you see the darkness surrounding you? Whoa! I'm just running. Oh my god, this is a nightmare. Maybe I just didn't have my hopes up, but I really enjoyed this game and strongly suggest it to any survival horror fan. Because of the game's interactive features, randomly generated level layouts, the creepy history, and the nightmare-inducing witches, I think it's a safe bet to say that Daylight will go down as a pioneer in creepy gaming history. I want to thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Hi, I'm Mullet Mike with the on full screen saying, keep stay creepy. Thanks for watching. Peace!